So, syempre, when you talk about falling in love, it's how can you not talk about the one that you fall in love with? Diba? So, not everybody falls in love with a male. And not everybody naman falls in love, di ba? So, it's hindi naman required to fall in love. But then, if you did, it had to be with a male. So when women were not falling in love with males, but with each other, parang, paano ba ito pag-usapan? I'm Leah Sarabia. I'm a feminist, and I've been an activist since I was 15 years old. Yeah. A lot of things that have to do with relationships and sexuality of women are things you don't really, or things that women were not at that time, were not allowed to talk about. But when it comes to the messy stuff, like not wanting to get pregnant, or being beaten up by the guy that's supposed to love you, or falling in love with a fellow woman, these were things that had to be talked about. Because we had to protest. You talk about it, you say it's wrong, and then you try to do something about it. It was just that as a teenager and as a high school student, I was wondering why certain things were not allowed. Just because I was a girl. At 15 or 16, I was, like many teenagers, looking for meaning in my life. And when I read those essays, I thought that this was where I wanted to go. Not to be a writer for writing's sake, but writing about what I saw in society, how I processed it, and understanding life through reading and writing. This was in 1985. There was the International Conference on Women in Nairobi. And I was in the US at that time. I heard a radio program that was covering that international conference. And I told myself, wow, I can do this, you know? I can make a radio program. So we did make that radio program when martial law ended, and we basically went to the radio, to the TV stations, and you know, we banged on the gates and entered the studios. That's when we thought that things really changed. And it was a few weeks later that I talked to some people there, and I said, we have our radio program here called Woman Watch. We want to make it into a TV show. Here we were moving from print to radio, and then now television. It created a new reality. And that's what we wanted. We wanted images of women put forward in the minds of people through television. I think that our TV show helped to make women more visible in different areas of reality. I couldn't face the reality that this was possible, a kind of sexuality that was not fixed. It was like a continuum. I got together with some friends, and then we were talking about this. We started again kasi hindi namin masalita. We couldn't talk about it. I thought of how to organize the lesbians that eventually became the members of Can't Live in the Closet. We did it by having film showings. So we started there. We had, I think, 2 or 3 sessions of film showings, and then we had discussions, and then a lot of the personal questions or experiences of the people that attended, dun lumabas. Later on, we had to face it. We had to be brave. Para naman, how can you fight for other people? Then the oppression of other women, and then yourself, parang you're oppressing yourself. Bakit? Parang we're not being true to ourselves. That's why we had to face it. How can you not feel hesitant? How can you not feel guilty? But at the same time, if you're in the feminist movement, how can you remain silent? Okay? So we had to start writing about it. Kasi you cannot naman organize around feelings. You have to organize around issues. And so the issues that we were talking about were about discrimination. How do you get recognized? One of the things that happened around that time was that around 1990 or 91, in the Committee of People Power in the House of Representatives, a bill was filed to give sectoral representation to the third sex. So we thought that we should go to Ray Calala and tell him that we existed, that there was a group called Can't Live in the Closet, and that we wanted not to be called third sex. So I wrote him a letter, and then I visited him in his office, and then he said, pumunta kayo, mag-schedule ako ng hearing. And so we said, sige, punta tayo. We have to show up so that they'll take us seriously. Morality was really getting into the way. The morality and the thing about being a sin. So we had to get that out and try to make it scientific, official, formal, ganyan. How do you make it official? How do you make it something that can be controlled or studied or understood? You, again, put them into words. Then we started putting out a little newsletter called Breakout. When I attended international conferences, we give away our newsletters, pero sometimes they're left on the floor, some things like that. But if you give a book or you bring a book, it's respected. So we thought about this book of essays. So hindi pwede mag-essays kasi not everybody is a writer. So pwedeng cartoons, okay, pwedeng cartoons. Pwedeng picture na lang, okay, picture na lang. So pwedeng interview, okay. So it's like a halo-halong kalamay. So may song, may poems, may short story, may interview. Or it was so hard to get the contributors to speak up, to write it down, and use their name. Every time you accept something in yourself that's different from the rest of the world around you, and then you take the next step. You accept it to yourself, and then you speak it. Each step is takes a lot of courage because you risk your being comfortable. You risk your career. One of the writers here, she was asked to leave the school she was teaching in. When they saw this, I said, you regret? Sabi niya, hindi. But why does it have to be like that? Diba? Imagine. Kicked out of school, your daughter will leave you, just to get this book out. Cost a lot of such great self-examination among the contributors. And those that finally submitted, in a way, they're heroes. Some of them are gone now. A couple got married, became straight, or went back on the other side of the continuum. Some nag-break up na. Ganyan naman ang buhay. What they wrote here, what is in here, it stays. For the period in time of their lives where they were brave enough to contribute to this book, it's here. Diba? Even if they say, it's not me anymore, never mind. At that time, it was you. Diba? That's the nice thing about books. Our lives are not forever. Everything changes all the time. But books don't. The context changes, but the books are testament to what we were brave enough to do, what we were brave enough to say, that we were able to get the power because we decided, we had the choice to speak up.